Hello, hello. Today is March 21st, 2019, which means it's time for Oscar Mike Radio on mission, on the move. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hoobazoo Network. You can find out more on hoobazoo.com. And this is number 140. Very happy to be here. Been a long time. Thank you so much for all the support. And I had a completely different topic to discuss tonight. I will discuss that topic later, kind of lighthearted, a really good, feel-good story. But right now, I am seething, I'm mad, I am ticked off, I'm irritated, and I'm upset. And I'm going to try to convey that without colorful metaphors, to quote Mr. Spock, because I feel like just getting the B-52 out or the B-1 or the B-2 and going to town, dropping bombs all over the place, F-wise, okay? I am not happy. And I feel the need to kind of get this out, and it's timely and appropriate. And I'll tell you why before I get into what actually happened. Some people have the idea that veterans really don't need a whole lot of help, that veterans are universally respected and liked and loved and adored, that we don't have it that bad, and that there's enough going on in movies and books that there is no real reason to keep harping on things that happened in the past. It's in the past. Happened way before I was born. It's not a big deal. I don't know why we got to remember this stuff. I don't know why we got to listen to these old guys. I just don't know, and I really don't care, and it's okay. And then something happens this week to kind of bring it into focus that not only are there good people who answered the call for service to their country, to their community and family and friends when the time came, but many of those people pay the ultimate price in order for us to have what we have now. And it is not an inconvenience. It is not a burden to give them the respect and remembrance that they are due. It's not. And anyone who thinks that way is no friend of mine. We really have nothing to discuss at this point. If you really feel that veterans are over-remembered or over-honored, I don't have a lot to... There's nothing I can do to change your mind at this point. All I'm going to do for the people that are on the fence, may not know, may be busy, and may not understand, is try to articulate how I feel about what I'm getting ready to talk about and why it's important and why what happened is so terrible. So what did happen? I'm on the train and I'm reading about this article in the Boston Herald by Joe Dwinell. But he wrote an article on March 18th, yesterday evening, talking about, it's titled, and I can't believe I'm reading this in this day and age, World War II veteran, vandalism to South Boston Memorial, quote, complete disrespect, close quote. So, and yes, it's a filler word, but I'm just trying to collect myself. I am not from Massachusetts. I was not born here. I was not raised here. I did not grow up here. I came here much later in my life, and Massachusetts has a lot of reputations. For example, they don't call them mass holes for nothing. Trust me on that one. We have a lot of interesting and colorful political characters coming from this state. This state believes certain things that are incompatible with other states. We do things differently than other people. Sports and baseball and football are a religion. And Dunkin' Donuts is a way of life. But for all that, and yes, I know you could sit there and say this is the liberal capital of the East Coast, more liberal than New York, more liberal than New Jersey, for example, more liberal than Connecticut. But for all that, whatever political affiliation you have behind your name, however you voted, this state does one thing better than a lot of other states, if not the best. These people believe in and love their veterans. It is the only state in the union where every community, every town has a certified licensed veteran service officer to advocate and help veterans in their time of need or not their time of need, that offers substantial discounts for college tuition, in some cases free college tuition, help with buying your home, help with starting a business, other kinds of things that just aren't done a whole lot. So to read this article in the Boston Herald, and I'll have a link to it in the Oscar Mike Radio blog post on oscarmikeradio.com. Please go ahead and check it out. Like my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter page. Subscribe to the webpage to keep in contact with everything that's going on, or up to date, rather. But when I read this article, I about cried. I'm not going to lie. Last night, coming home from work, reading about this, understanding what went on. And what went on is somebody or somebodies poured what appeared to be oil all over the World War II Memorial in South Boston. I got to tell you, I don't know South Boston that well, but I have met and talked to a lot of older veterans in Boston, south of Boston, west of Boston, who've served our country back in Korea, Vietnam. A couple of World War II guys I met when we did the honor flight for the Patriot Guard Riders. And just to talk with these men and women who served back then is a privilege. It's an honor. And if you ever get a chance to listen to somebody's old stories or how life was or what they feel about their service, please, please, please take the 5 or 10 minutes and let an old guy tell you what it was like serving on that ship, what it was like working on a B-17, driving a Sherman tank. I could go on. You're not going to get the same kind of experience watching a movie. So to see this happen like this and understand the desecration of this monument, to me, is an outrage. And the kind of oil, the article goes on to say, that was used on this monument, on this memorial in South Boston, if they can't get it out, is permanently going to damage this monument. And this is where I just, like I said, I get really angry. Like, I had an entirely different podcast planned for number 140. And I could not let this go. When someone goes and gets a committee together to place a monument somewhere in honor of someone's service and, more importantly, sacrifice, that monument did not get there by accident. A lot of people wanted that symbol there, that reminder of service, that reminder of sacrifice. And yes, it was for South Boston residents and the history around South Boston, sure. But the fact of the matter is, this state did give a lot in terms of lives, materials, and resources to the war effort in World War II. And the people in South Boston at the time felt so strongly about honoring that in a forever memorial that they had this erected. And to see it defaced this way, to see the vandalism done by people who just didn't care. It's not like they used paint or anything else. They used oil that could seep into the stone, according to the article, and permanently damage this memorial. I'm just upset. And I'm not a journalist, and I know I'm supposed to be kind of detached from these stories sometimes, but I can't be detached tonight. I can't sit there and tell you that this is okay. No, I'm upset. I'm really, really upset. I'm not happy at all. The people that did this don't appreciate the country they live in, the town they live in, the community they have in South Boston, a community that has a tradition of service, of giving and sacrifice, a proud community of people that can trace their history back hundreds of years, people that have lived in the same house as their parents and grandparents. where serving their country wasn't a burden. It wasn't an obligation. It was just something you did because the call went out. It's not right. It's not right. And I hope that the police can get on this. I hope that whoever did this is found. Better yet, I'd like to see whoever did this actually come forward and admit it, and this be dealt with as a teaching moment. Is that going to happen? Probably not. What I don't want to see happen is some copycat doing this somewhere else. There are a lot of war memorials in the Boston area, lots of them. There's a lot in the town that I live in. Not a lot because it's a small town, but in the area I live in, there is at least one, if not two, war memorials: World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Desert Storm 1 and 2, post 9/11. These people in this state, and I know that the reputation for Massachusetts is we're very liberal. We don't care about America. We won't take away your guns. We don't allow free speech. But believe it or not, there are politicians, there are civic leaders, there are people in the community who care enough about our freedoms in our country to send their sons and daughters into war. And when they come home, this state has committed to taking care of those people. I've seen it. I've been a part of it behind the scenes, sometimes just involved as much as a phone call, sometimes a lot more. But this state believes in taking care of and honoring their veterans. And to have this happen, to me, is an affront to all of us who served. That's what I'm saying, fellow vets. You ought to be just as upset about this as the people in the article. One of them, who I believe, if I understand this, is related to somebody I know. Okay? John Leoncello is 95 in this article, and he's crying about the friends he lost, who never got to come home, who don't understand. These people do not understand that life is precious. He watched his buddies die. He came back and lived. So it's hitting close to home. And so what can we do about this? How can we, maybe you're not in Massachusetts listening to this podcast, maybe you're somewhere else, maybe you're in another country, I don't know. What can you do right where you are right now? I would simply say it goes back to something I mentioned before. There are a lot of older men and women who served in World War II, served in Korea, served in Vietnam. It doesn't cost you anything to take a couple minutes out of your day, your week, or month and visit one, listen to one, and understand their stories. Maybe you get to know these people and you get attached to them, and maybe they need their yard mowed. Maybe they need their steps fixed. I don't know. Maybe they need some light bulbs changed, or maybe they'd just be happy to have a cup of coffee or tea with you and get to know you. Maybe you have a group of them in your town, your city, your state, and you want to erect a monument for them. Well, there are ways to do that. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but if you want to, you can make it happen. And if you are out there in the world, in the wild, going about your day, and you hear somebody bragging about defacing a monument to veterans or a monument in general, look, to me, if you can do this to a monument about veterans, you can do it to someone else's property, no problem. So if you're a person that knows who did this kind of thing, and you know for a fact they're the ones who did this terrible, terrible act of vandalism, well, then I would challenge you. I would tell you, be like these men and women who are great-grandfathers and grandmothers. Step up and do the right thing and turn these people in. Don't let them get away with this. Don't let them feel that this is a good thing to do. It's funny, They got to laugh. Keep in mind, I'll have the article again. I'm going to put the article in the OscarMikeRadio.com blog post for this podcast. This oil that they use to deface the monument, if they can't get it out or clean it up, will permanently deface this monument forever. What if that was your grandfather or grandmother's name on that monument? What if that was your father's name on that monument? Your mother's brother, your mom? How would you feel then? So if you know who did this, I'm going to tell whoever's out there listening to this, maybe you're not, maybe you are, I don't care. But if you know who did this, you have a responsibility to do the right thing and turn them in. Okay? And then last but not least, I have to close this out by saying this just underscores the very real fact that there are people out there that do not respect the military and our veterans. There are people out there that don't respect nurses and doctors. There are people out there that don't respect teachers, that do not respect first responders, firefighters, law enforcement. I could go on and on. And these are people that serve other people under some very challenging conditions at best sometimes. And at baseline, they deserve our respect because they're in service to their fellow man. And yes, I know the Saints are going to say, well, they're getting paid for it, but still, I don't think I could do certain aspects of these people's jobs. I was never in combat. My time in the military was very short. But even before I joined the military, my parents impressed upon me that these people in these professions deserve our respect and should be treated with dignity. And certainly a monument to their sacrifice and service should also be given the same kind of treatment. And I know some people from South Boston, from Dorchester. They're a very tough people. And rest assured, I think there are things being done to leave no stone unturned in trying to find who did this. One thing I am disappointed, the story broke last night on the Boston Herald at 7:53. But today, almost 24 hours later, I'm recording this podcast. It's not even the top 10 stories for the Boston Herald. So this podcast, other people on Facebook, other podcasters, other people in social media who are raising awareness about this issue, I salute you. Thank you very much. There's coming a day when these World War II veterans will be gone forever, and we will not have the benefit of their experience and their stories and their laughter with us. So again, treasure any kind of moment you get to talk to one of these veterans and make sure that they're respected at all times. So that's my podcast. More or less a long rant, but I feel very strongly about this. And I hope that the people that did this are brought to justice. It just makes me shake my head, and I'm sad. But I stand with the people in South Boston. I stand with those veterans and their families. And I will do whatever I can on my end to raise awareness about this. And if possible, get some justice. I'm on the move.